Well, today's message was clean up your act. And so appropriate that we start our Hot Fudge Sunday today right here by the cleaning closet where all the supplies are that we need to use to clean the building. But of course, today's message wasn't about cleaning up a building. Today's message was about our lives, about what each one of us needs to do every single day to clean up our act. How each and every single one of us needs to pay attention to what it is that we do, so that what it is that we do doesn't create a problem in our relationship with God. Now, this is one of those kind of tough messages. Second Sunday of Advent. We're living in that place where we have this tension between the birth of Jesus in the manger and the second coming of Jesus someday. And we live that tension in this season of Advent. And we talked about how we can only manage that tension. We don't know when Jesus is going to return. We don't know when that day is. Now, there's people that make predictions about that and people who think that they might know, but the fact of the matter is nobody knows when that day is going to come. So all we can do really is manage that tension, manage the fact that we are living between two worlds, between the birth of Jesus and the second coming of Jesus. And so managing that tension is what we do every single day. And the problem is that many times we will mismanage that tension. We will make decisions that don't help. We'll get caught up in things that don't really matter. We'll focus a great deal on the trivia, or the trivial, I should say. And so we took a look at Isaiah's first chapter, verses 13 through 17. And we talked about the concept of prophecy and how prophets share God's word. They don't necessarily share their own words and their own views. They share God's view and God's words. And sometimes they're hard to hear. The fact of the matter is that sometimes God has to punch us in the gut to get our attention. And that's what this passage was today, a punch in the gut, so to speak. This notion of the fact that many times we play church, we play worship. And in fact, the translation we used said that we called it a worship charade. And that's the case for many of us, that we go through the motions when it comes to church. And the fact of the matter is that God's not interested in us going through the motions. He wants us to be real. He wants us to not just put in time, but He wants us to devote ourselves to Him. God's not interested in just us playing church. God's calling us to be the church. And that's two totally different things. We talked a great deal today about the concept of God's not interested in what we do. God is interested in who we are. For who we are will always affect what we do, but what we do will never change who we are. And so we took a look at that concept today, and how it relates to worship, how it relates to prayer, how it relates to church, how it relates to every aspect of our lives. And there were some tough words. I encourage you to read Isaiah 1, 13 through 17. We read from the Message translation today, but feel free to read from any translation, because it all says the same thing. Maybe you just use some different words sometimes. And it'll kind of hit close to home for you. Hit close to home as far as, what is it that we're supposed to be doing as a church? Who is it that we're supposed to be? And that's our challenge, especially now when we find ourselves in a time when we get an opportunity now to sell this building and relocate to a new part of the town and start again. We've got a blank page, and that's going to be exciting. But it's also going to require us to ask the question, who are we? Not what do we do, but who are we? And I think that was the point this second Sunday of Advent that God was trying to give to us, is to say, Central Christian Church, who are you? Are you playing games? Are you just going through the motions? Because the fact of the matter is, in some instances we are. In some instances we're so busy trying to do this stuff for God that we forget about our relationship with God. That we're so busy trying to keep the doors open that we forget about the community around us. And I think it's important for us to realize that if we sell this building and move to a new location and do the exact same things the way we've always done it, then we'll find ourselves having the exact same problems. We'll find ourselves right back to where we started. And I don't think any of us wants that. So that's what we talked about on this second Sunday of Advent, this beautiful day, wherever you're watching this. If the weather's not beautiful in your place, then you can just soak up the sunshine down here in Florida. I think that's about it for this week. Again, as I say almost all the time, I hope this week has a good you. And I look forward to you tuning back in next week for another episode of Hot Fudge Sunday. We'll see you soon.